Hello everybody, and welcome back to Crochet Through Corona. We are now up to project, what are we on, 6 I think. So today we're going to be using the half double crochet that you started in the lesson last week to make these phone cases. And tomorrow I will release another video for glasses cases, which to be honest is actually slightly easier than this one. So depending on how confident you're feeling with the crocheting around the outside, that might be the one that you start with, but it's completely up to you. So I'm going to go through this one just now. I'll demonstrate. Here's my little opening. My phone is obviously videoing, so I can't use that, but we just slip in there. We've got a non-slip case on that, so it's not so easy, but it's as simple as that. So to do this project, you will need, as usual, your scissors, your hook to match the yarn that you're using, and a darning needle. So I have got here, you can either use the same colour yarn all the way around, but if you want to give it this edge, you'll need 2 colours of yarn. So I have got this green and this yellow, and I'm going to make the main colour in green. So I'm going to start by loosening off a load of yarn so I'm not pulling against it, and I'm going to cast on, yarn over my finger, pulling my thumb up to pinch in between, yarn over, and then inserting my hook and tighten up. Hopefully you're getting used to doing that now. And then we're going to chain. Now, how many you're going to chain will depend on the size of your phone, basically. But you're going to need to make a chain that's the same width as your phone, and then add 2 extra chains because they are going to be your turning chain. So I know that from previous experience that I need 11 in total stitches for my phone, so I need to do 13 as my foundation chain. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I just yarn over and pull through the loop, yarn over, pull through the loop, moving my fingers up as I go. I've lost count, so if you lose count, you just go back and count the V shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So once you've got your chain that you feel is the right size for your phone, make sure you've added the extra 2. And then, because it's a half double crochet, we start in the 3rd chain from hook. So this is the 1st chain, the one that the yarn's going through. This is the 2nd chain, and we are going into this 3rd chain here. And we're going into the top part of that V, just there. So with our half double crochet, we yarn over first, then we insert our hook underneath the top there. We yarn over again, pull through, and then we yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. I'll show you that again in the next chain. So we yarn over before we start the stitch. We go into the stitch, well, into the chain on this case, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 chains on the hook. And then we do that all the way to the end. I hope you are all enjoying the sunshine a little bit and being able to get out. We spent our day making nature windows today. So the day that only occupies about 20 minutes, as it does any activity with a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, which I am now mum to. How crazy is that? He's now 1. So yeah, but sandpit play is doing as well at the minute. Not sure if any of you've got little ones and having similar, just trying to keep them occupied all day long. Coming to crochet is some really nice downtime. Okay, so I've got to the end of my row here, and just releasing a bit more yarn there, sorry. So I'm going to do, if you've watched my previous videos, I showed you 2 different ways to do the halfway double crochet swatch. One involved doing 2 turning chains, and one involved doing 1 turning chain. If you did the 2 turning chains, you missed the 1st stitch, and because that counted as your 1st stitch, And if you only did one turning chain, you still go into the first stitch. Now personally that's the method I prefer, so I am going to use that method. So I've just chained one as my turning chain, and then I'm going to yarn over and go into the first stitch, and that is where we have the V over the top of the hook. Yarn over again and pull through, yarn over and pull through, and then we repeat that all the way to the end. And you're going to want to keep repeating this all the way until the height of your phone. It's that simple. So there is no set number of rows for this. You don't have to keep count of how many rows you've done. You just need to keep going until it measures up to the top of your phone. And I'm just going to go all the way to the end of this row so you can see what you're looking for at the end, because it is a little bit tricky. You may need to just keep count of the number of stitches you've got on each row to make sure you're not losing any. So I know I'm looking for 11, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which can't be true, so I must have done an extra an extra one at the bottom. Let's see how many stitches I actually have at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've only got 10. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's making more sense. So you can either count these pillars. I'm just separating them out for you there. That's one single stitch. Or you can count the V's along the top. So it's up to you. And so because I need one more, this last stitch is always a little bit more tricky to find. It's this one on the end right there. You're looking for that V just there. So you need to make sure you keep the same number of stitches all the way up your swatch. So I would just do one turning chain, yarn over and back into that first stitch. And then you just keep going. For example, if I was using this as my phone, I put it at the bottom and I just keep going all the way until I get to the top and I'm ready to stop. And then you just fasten off as you have in other projects. You then need to do it twice. So here is one I prepared earlier. So you need a front and back to your case. So there's one for me, and I am nearly at the end of my second swatch now. And I'm just going to pick it up from there. So I've got my last stitch to do, and I'm going to change the colour after this stitch. So I'm actually going to cast off here, just the same as you would. I'm going to pull through, I'm going to tighten that up a bit, and then sew in this end. The amount of times I've lost this needle this week is unreal. So all the sewing on the buttons. I hope some of you are enjoying making your ear protectors for the frontline staff. I was going to say NHS, but actually the frontline staff is so much more than just those in the NHS, as wonderful as the NHS are. There's many people from retail, pharmacists, drivers, yeah. The list goes on, and we're so grateful for you guys. So if anybody out there does need some ear protectors, do let me know. So I just knotted that off there to make sure it wasn't going to go anywhere. You can either do that or not do that, it's completely up to you. And I'm just going to lose this end in here, going back into 3 times as we've done many times before. There we go. Right, I've pinned that in there when I'm looking for it later. Okay, so here is where I'm going to change colour. So that last stitch where we started is going to be our top left hand corner, and make sure your swatches, the easy way to tell is where your tail end is, should be the bottom left hand corner, so they should both match up. I lie, they shouldn't both match up. Yes, no, they should. Ignore me. Yes, they should. They should both match up. They should both match up on your left-hand side. There we go. Now I'm going to get my second colour, and it's my yellow, releasing a bit of it. And we're going to single crochet from now on. And to do this, I'm going to insert my hook underneath that last stitch. I'm actually going to do it part way down that last stitch. Don't know whether you can quite see there. So I'm going to try and catch 2 strands on this swatch and 1 or 2 strands on this swatch, like that. And then I'm going to keep my other colour behind. I'm going to pinch it to the back of my work to keep it nice and firm. I'm going to effectively yarn over and pull through, she says, hopefully. Oh, I've caught another colour there. There we go, I'm through. And then I'm going to yarn over and chain 1. That's to secure the yarn to my work. And then I'm going to go back into the same point and do a single crochet. Now, if you remember from some of our other projects, like Easter eggs where we put an edge on, we did 1 single crochet per row that we'd worked on. Now, because this swatch has half double crochets, we now need to do 1 single crochet through for every row and a half. So it's really not as neat as crocheting around a single crochet swatch. As you can see here, it's a little bit more jagged. And again, it's not an exact science, so you've got to find the best way that you can do. But try and make sure you take 2 strands of yarn from each swatch, and we're looking for a single crochet about every one single crochet for 1 row and 2 for the next row. So I'm just going to start going, and we're going to go all the way down the side. Unfortunately, I didn't do a one that I prepared earlier for this bit, which might be quite tedious for some of you watching, so apologies on that front. You do want to try and make sure they stay quite matched up, because you're going to want them to be matched up at the bottom. You're going to want to finish on each swatch when you get to the bottom. The only problem with putting too many stitches in is if it starts to stretch your work out too much, so you will realise if you put in too many stitches in, but probably only when you get towards the end of the row. Man, I sound like I've run a marathon. I haven't, I've just looked after a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old all day. Okay, so I'm just working my way around, trying to do about 1 for 1 row and 2 for the next row. As I said, it's not an exact science, so just be kind to yourself. Check what you're happy with. That's what it's looking like so far. Oops, I've lost that one. And then when we get to the bottom corner, we need to turn. So to turn, we're going to do 1 single crochet and then a chain 1 and then a second single crochet all in the end. So this is the end here. You'll notice it's at the beginning of the foundation chains for both. You can either have chosen to sew these ends in at the beginning before doing this part, or you can just now pinch them along the top so they get trapped in with the edging, which I like to do because that means I don't have to sew them in. So that's my first single crochet in the corner. Then I chain 1, I turn to go along the top, and I do another single crochet in the same stitch and in the same end of the foundation chain, and then we've got that turn on the corner, and then we just carry on. This is 1 single crochet per every part of the foundation chain, so that one's a bit easier to navigate. You can just speed along there, she says. It's a lot of pressure to be quite speedy when you're just being recorded like this. I think I've missed one just there, so I'm just going to come back. There it is. The nice thing about crochet is it is easy to just pull back a little bit. If you've done a mistake, just pull it out. Well, actually, if you've done a mistake, it's completely up to you. Some mistakes, sometimes it's okay to not be perfect, and that is something I need to learn in life. And crochet can be a way of teaching you that, if you can just learn to let go of the mistakes sometimes. Sometimes you do need to make the adjustment, and you can just pull it out and go again. And for some reason that's called frogging in crochet. So if you're ever on a crochet Facebook group or community. They call it frogging when you just pull it all out. I've never quite got my head around the reason, but alas, that's a helpful little tip for you because it made no sense to me when I first started. Right, so I've now got to the corner again of my foundation chain. I'm going to do my first single crochet. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to do a second single crochet in that stitch. And I'm going to drop these ends because I think they're well and truly attached now. I'm just going to do the same coming up the side, so it's 1 for one row and 2 for the next row. In case you're wondering what I mean by rows, these are the rows. So that's the front of a stitch, that's the back of a stitch, front of a half double crochet, back of a half double crochet, so they're rows. Hopefully you are just crocheting along with me and not being too bored by my twitterings. There we go. Sometimes you just find that sweet spot where it goes in very easily. I will ask that you share, if you're enjoying Crochet Through Corona, please do share it with your friends. I know that mental health difficulties are massively on the rise since the isolations, the lockdown began, and I do think that just being able to listen to someone else on a video and start to learn a new skill and make something adds that level of productivity and achievement, which releases a bit of endorphins, something that we can all do with at the minute. So please do share far and wide. It really isn't about getting the most amount of views or anything like that. It's just, I know that this has helped me so much on my health journey, which has a lot of isolation linked to it, and other mental health difficulties. So I would encourage you to share that with others. Okay, so I have now got to the last stitch here. I'm not going to go through both parts at this point. I'm going to go into just the front, and I'm going to do 1, chain 1 and 1, same as we did at the bottom, but it's just in that front edge. And then very simply we're going to just crochet. Did I just say the same? Yeah. So you do 1, chain 1 and then an extra stitch in the same one. And then we just crochet along the top. Excellent. Hope your children are going to enjoy these, or friends or neighbours. Make sure you measure the foam first though. Okay, so I've come to the end and I'm going to do a very similar thing. I'm going to do 1 single crochet, a chain, 1 single crochet into the end of that stitch, so that's the corner, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch into the bottom of the back swatch. When I say bottom, the bottom of the stitch at the top of the next swatch. So that's where I joined. I'm going to come in behind here and do a slip stitch, which is yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on the hook. And then I'm going to go into the top of that stitch, which is there, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet, chain 1 and another single crochet, and that's turned that corner again. And then I just crochet back along. This bit's nice and easy because it's just the top of stitches like you're used to doing with your single crochet. And the reason I say the phone case, the glasses case is a bit simpler is because it's built in the other orientation, which means the crocheting down the edge has more easy parts. Okay, so I'm coming to the last stitch again now. I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to do 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet, and slip stitch into somewhere in this chain over here that you've already done, wherever you think will look the neatest. I'm going to go into that point there, just underneath where I have done my corner. And at that point you have finished and can fasten off. Now I am not going to show you how to fasten off because I'm sure you can manage that yourself. You also might want to, when sewing in this end, just cover in that gap by making a fake stitch, going in and coming back out of there, just to cover that gap. And or when you do this part, you can do an extra slip stitch down here and then come back up, but it's completely up to you. You can tweak it for how you best prefer the pattern. But there is your phone cover. I hope that you have found that makes sense. Please do share pictures of any that you've made, and if you have any questions, as ever, please do get in touch. Stay home, stay safe, and see you soon.